Hope you guys having a great day. We're a little bit behind, but always on time. So give me 1 second to make sure we have the up-to-date information here. There we go. I want to make sure I can see you guys here. So we have a lot of things we're going to talk about today. So welcome to Future Money, the only show that gives you the real-time insights on tech, stocks, crypto, and emerging technologies before they dominate the headlines. I'm your host, Armando Pantoja, investor futurist, unfair advantage in the fast-moving world of investing. Every Wednesday, 5 o'clock, we break down the moves of the big players, uncover what Wall Street won't tell you, and spotlight the future trends that are going to govern our world over the next 5 to 10 years. So we got a lot we're going to talk about today. We got to talk about the big drop in cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about nuclear energy. We're going to talk about where quantum computers are going. We're going to talk about XRP and how that they got a big vote of confidence from JP Morgan, in which a report came out that said that JP Morgan can see XRP being a replacement for the SWIFT network. So a lot of things we're going to talk about today. First, I want to talk about the volatility in the crypto market. Crypto markets reminded investors how quickly things can turn. Ethereum dropped 9%, Bitcoin 3%. Some coins are down 20, 30, 40% in a sharp sell-off a few days ago. $1.8 billion in leveraged positions wiped out in 24 hours. The largest liquidation that we've seen this year. Now, that's why we always talk about practicing risk management. You never know when something like that's going to happen. That's why you can never get overconfident. You have to always protect your positions and understand that there's always risk. This pullback shows both the risk of leverage and reality that volatility is always part of the crypto landscape, at least for today. Bitcoin, let me see, where's Bitcoin at? Bitcoin is this is the wrong one. Let's put the Bitcoin prices up here so I can check. Or the crypto prices. So Bitcoin's at 113. It's recovering from that crash. A lot of the coins, if you see, are up from that crash. You got to remember, October, it traditionally has been the worst month in crypto. Every year, it's always the worst month. But the good news is in October, we normally see a 35% increase in cryptocurrency. So all of the gains that were lost this month will more than likely be recovered and then some next month. Ethereum took some big, somebody give me a super chat. Thank you for Oklo, made a killing over it. Oklo, a 21 times gain. I got 3 messages in the last 3 days. One of them, we actually giving awards out at the CNC event. That's another thing is that the CNC event is on the 4th, we're going to be in New York. On the 5th, we're going to be in, is it reversed? I always mix those days up. But not this weekend, but next weekend, we're going to be in Dallas. We're going to be in New York. Also, we're going to have a virtual stream that can be seen on demand. You don't have to watch it right then. You can get all 3. I'm going to put a link in the, I'm going to put a link down here. Now, Oklo was one of those plays that started at an event. That's how people got in at $5, $6. Later on, I told you guys about it. But most of the things we talk about started in an event, and then we build from there. So here's there's the link there. So it has 3 options, New York, Dallas, or virtual. I put 4 or 5 of them there. So click one of those. So a lot of people, I got 3 emails. And like we said, we're going to start giving events at CNC events. One for, if you're in the CNC and you pass the $100,000 threshold, you get an award. If you pass the $1 million threshold with plays in the CNC, you get a millionaire circle award, which is a little bit bigger. But if you break that $10 million mark, you get a record breaker, which is the record is shattered inside the award. Only one person has done that, and we're going to give him his award this next weekend. $10 million off of the plays that we've called in the CNC. He's like 24 too. He's ridiculous. I mean, this dude has a bright future ahead of him to have $10 million. He got to pay taxes, but at that young of age, he did some leverage plays, did a lot of options. He just hit everything at the right time, and now he's $10 million up in everything we've called out. So you think about Oklo. Let's say, for example, let's go back and say you would have done you would have done NVIDIA, right? NVIDIA was a 20 times play. So you put 1,000, now you got 20. You took that money, you put it in Palantir. I mean, I didn't do this. I'm not going to say I did it because I didn't do it, but somebody out there did, and I think he was one of them. You take that money, you put it into Palantir. That's another 20 times growth. Now you're at 400,000. Well, you take that 400,000, you put it into 20. Now you're at 10 million on Oklo or any other play that we were talking about. So it's doable, and that's very hard to do it in that order. It's very hard with the noise and everything, but some people out there do get lucky. I'm not saying he's lucky, but he is very smart, so maybe he's smart, but he is now the first person in CNC history to pass $10 million in wins with all the plays we've called out. He's going to get his award next week. So people said up 300%, other people up 100%, 500%. So if you appreciate the Oklo target, give me a super chat. You made thousands of dollars, you can give me a $10 super chat. So everybody that made money with Oklo, I want to see everybody that made money give me a super chat today. Back to what I was saying. Bitcoin we expected this to happen. If you've been watching along with the podcast and all the other things that we do, you know that we expected this to happen. Like I knew this. I mean, we knew September would be a bad month in crypto. It normally always is. So we expected this to happen. But let me get back to, I actually went too far. So like I said, is that leverage was at risky levels, and whenever in September, Ethereum accounted for almost a third of that loss with over leveraged accounts because Ethereum, remember, took the biggest gain. So of course Ethereum is seen as the most risky asset of the top 10. So of course they're going to panic and sell it all. So Ethereum is actually at attractive buy levels again. Where's Ethereum? At 4,168, attractive again. If you missed the run up to right under 5,000, now you got another chance. So I want to move on because we have a tight show today. One of the biggest things that's happened over the last week was Blackrock and Morgan Stanley. It's two parts of news. Blackrock has opened the path to liquidity on the XRP ledger. They've said that they're going to have some funds that access liquidity on that ledger. Now, this is BlackRock, one of the biggest institutional banks in the world. Now, the other thing that we want to talk about is the institutional heat. Morgan Stanley just backed, in a report by a third party, Morgan Stanley backs XRP and Ripple to replace the SWIFT network. One of the biggest things we've been talking about over the last few years or months. Big banks are starting to pay serious attention to Ripple as a challenger to SWIFT. Otherwise, Morgan Stanley doesn't waste money on reports unless they're real, right? So SWIFT is the global payments network system, dominated for decades. Morgan Stanley's latest analysis signals growing institutional confidence in blockchain-based settlement, like the XRP ledger. XRP is also right now positioned for a technical breakout. Momentum's building. Many are saying that XRP is on the verge of a run towards $4 to $5. Morgan Stanley again sees Ripple as a real SWIFT rival. Ripple's system offers near instant settlement, 60% cheaper than SWIFT right now, and a lot faster and a lot easier to use. This perspective from Morgan Stanley was the first time a major bank has added this type of confidence to XRP and what Ripple's doing. It also is being used in debates online about if XRP will really take over as SWIFT or not. Now, I'm going to side with Morgan Stanley on that one. So institutional credibility matters, and that's the reason why, is that institutions, and Robert Croak says this a lot, and I say it also, is that a company that big, BlackRock, they don't make mistakes. Well, you say, well, they do make mistakes. Yeah, but they have enough power, enough resources, enough influence to make their mistakes right. So even if it's wrong, they're going to make it right, make you use it, or make somebody else use it. That's why they're never wrong, because they have the power to change it. 2008, all the major banks were wrong about the mortgage securities. But what happened? They had the power to influence the government to give them the money back that they lost, and they're still right. They had parties and danced when they got that money. If you look back at the news, if you were old enough to remember that, they got the money from the bailout, and they gave bonuses out to their CEOs. They partied and had car, and they did a lot of crazy things with that money, because if they're wrong, doesn't matter. They're too big to fail. So that's why that's why institutional credibility matters. It could shift how banks and other similar providers evaluate the adoption of XRP. Now, one thing I want to talk about as we get into the interview for today. A very bright man that's running a company. DM is a guy that I've known for a while, and he's doing great things in the world of compute and security. But before we get in that, I want you to understand where AI tokens are going in cryptocurrency, right? Well, before we get in there, let's talk a little bit about nuclear energy and Oklo and also quantum computing. Then we'll get into the AI tokens to lead into the interview. So Oklo is at 146. Last I checked. Let me see where it's at. Let's look at the energy stocks today. I think they're a little bit down today. Let me see. Yeah, they're all down today, but Oklo is at 130. It's actually down like 8-9%. But that's expected, right? Is that Oklo had a meteoric rise from $6 to 146 in a matter of a couple of, not even a year and a half. So you got to expect a drawdown of 35% from the peak. That's normal. That's a lot of times that happens because once again, the same thing we saw with Ethereum when all the crypto crashed is that people see something that rose that quickly as risky. And if somebody sees it as risky, they start taking out put, shorten it, and all these other things, and they drive it back down. And if a stock is strong enough, that's only temporary. So like I said, with nuclear energy, they're breaking ground on their first. They just broke ground on their first nuclear reactor somewhere in the Midwest, and they plan to open more in 2026-27. So how many super chats do I have? Let me say thanks to everybody. And that's a lot of them. So all you made money with. So I appreciate the super chat, James. Thank you so much. Appreciate the super chat, Land. Thank you for Oklo. What do you think of SoundHound? SoundHound is doing extraordinarily well too. AE Tally, you're always good. You always give me super chat, so I really appreciate that. Marcel, thank you for the $19.99. Thank you so much. Marcellus. Andres, thank you so much for that. Paid off his car with the gains. Catherine, thank you so much for what you do for us. I really appreciate that. Man, Cure Compassion sent 50. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Lena gave 5. So I appreciate that. Racer Nate, thank you so much for the 10. Candido, thank you so much. I've been following you for 3 years and bought most of my XP at 47 cents. I appreciate you, man. Guy Lane, thank you for the $10. Thank you so much, you guys. I really appreciate that. So I want to talk a little bit about AI tokens before we get into our interview today. One of the fastest growing narratives in crypto isn't DeFi or NFTs. It's AI tokens. It's AI intelligence reshapes industries as we see all around us. Everybody uses ChatGPT now. I mean, actually, I try to be as upfront as possible with you guys because I feel like that transparency actually helps, right? Is that earlier today I was doing some work. Of course, I'm using ChatGPT to create documents or whatever. And I go over to ChatGPT and it's not working. And I panic. I'm like, how am I going to finish this? The thing about it is that we finished it other ways before ChatGPT. So all of a sudden, it's become such an integral part of our life. That's the way technology works. You don't need it until you need it. Then when you do need it, you need it forever. You can't live without it. And that's the way that AI will integrate our lives more than just ChatGPT. That's the very, very beginning of it. We're going to have robots walking around, personalities. We're going to interact with therapists who are all AI. We're going to interact with entities that really have assets, resources, everything like that, pure AI. AIs that one day will say that they're conscious and we will believe them way down the line. All these things are going to happen with enough time. So we have to understand that that's the future. So artificial intelligence reshapes all our entire world. There's projects out there that are going to reshape and also merge blockchain with AI. I've always said, and I'll stick to this, is that when you got to think about a world like this, and I said this on a video I put on YouTube. Now, in our world, maybe blockchain and stuff is, the average person is too complex, whatever. They're not going to use Bitcoin to buy stuff, maybe. And I disagree, but that's what a lot of arguments people have. But you have to understand where we're going. I always say you have to think fourth dimensionally. The fourth dimension is time. We got 3 dimensions in front, up and down, and we got time in which we're moving ahead along the timeline. So if we think fourth dimensionally, there's going to be more AI personalities than there are humans. Say 10 to 1, 20 to 1, maybe even 50 to 1. Now, as AI gets better, stronger, and more autonomous, the only way an AI can actually really replace a human at something is they have to access to resources. Now, we're not going to give them our bank accounts more than likely. Maybe we will, maybe we won't, but banks are too slow. Something that thinks that the speed of light, banks, wire transfers 4 hours back and forth. AI is not going to want to do it. They're going to want to transact on the blockchain. And a lot of the transactions may even happen machine to machine. It may not even be a human involved. Maybe it's a machine that has data for this type of, and another machine has this other data. And they say, well, I want to pay you for access to your data to do a project. Okay, here's data. They may just transfer value like that. Now, if you project out far enough, you realize there's going to be 10, 50, 30, maybe even 100 to 1 entities for every human. Now, market caps don't look so crazy. Now, if there's 8, 9 billion humans on Earth, but there's maybe 100 billion entities all acting as if they were a human, either they take physical space or not physical space, doesn't matter. Now, all of a sudden, market caps look silly, and they can't support what that would look like in the future. So that's what I'm saying is that AI tokens are a huge deal. I believe that AI tokens will fuel a new crypto narrative. I thought that it would be the narrative of this cycle, but I don't think we're at the end of the cycle yet. They're not like NFTs or DeFi. These are actually have real use cases. They're tied to the demand for what's called compute. That's becoming real. If you listen to a lot of tech leaders now, they talk about a term called compute. And compute is like energy or like electricity or like a human resource, like people. It's a resource now because you have a processor that's in a server, and that server, and the processor, first of all, costs a lot of money. They're like a really solid AI processor could be $1 million from or a server that does AI could be millions of dollars or a small farm or whatever. So not only that is that it's expensive to get those processors, most of the farms or most of the server farms are already booked up because everybody has demand for that. Now, it's the same thing as anything else. You have something, it sits there, and it has a limited amount of time that it can run before it burns out. Because remember, AI, they do burn out when they become obsolete. So now there's demand on that chip. You see what I'm saying? So now there's a concept called compute, is access to chips. Because it's the same as any other resource. It can limit your business, like not having enough money. We don't have access to enough compute. We can't run these algorithms. We don't have access to compute. We can't process this data. Now it's becoming something that people see as the same. We didn't think about that in the 90s and 2000s, but now we have to think about compute because AI, quantum, uses so much computing power that they can use an AI processor up for days running something big. Like even when you do AI operations on your phone, it does not use your phone. It sends it off and brings it back to a server, a bigger server that handles the AI request. So there's a couple out there that's Render, I really like. Render allows people, these are cryptos. Render allows people to rent out unused GPU power for tasks like AI rendering and graphics. Another one I've always talked about is Fetch. I really like Fetch a lot. It focuses on autonomous agents that can perform tasks like trading energy or handling logistics without human oversight. Now, I want to bring in my friend Diem to explain all of this, explain more about how the world will look in the future and how his company is changing the way we interact with machines. Hey everyone, I'm here with Diem Hamstra, the founder of Plank Network, an AI infrastructure company, building a gap between centralized gains and decentralized challenger. Plank is one of the biggest AI companies I've heard of right now in the sphere of cryptocurrency. They have partnerships with Google right now, Microsoft, and a lot of other industry leaders. Diem is with me right now today, and he's building the foundation of all of this for a more scalable, decentralized future of AI. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here. I'm a big believer in AI. That's one thing I always talk about is that how blockchain and AI can merge together to become something great in the future. So I'm very glad to hear you, glad to talk to you, and very excited about what we're going to discuss.
Awesome. Thank you for having me again.
And no problem. We talk a lot about crypto and where things are going in the future. So what I want to talk to you about, and I have some questions, if that's okay. So One thing I want to ask is about just first tell me about what you guys do and where you see this technology going in the future.
Yeah, let me start with your first question. What we're doing here at Plank is building a missing infrastructure or something that we see as missing currently in especially the decentralized AI economy. On one side, we provide affordable access to enterprise-grade GPU power, the same chips used to train the world's leading AI models like ChatGPT from OpenAI, the Anthropic models, and it is all through a decentralized cloud. So on the other side, we're developing Web3 protocols. Our flagship here is Plank Zero. It's the first layer for AI and compute native blockchains. It provides shared security and, most importantly, token and compute interoperability. And compute interoperability is a completely new term, something that we are pushing right now in the space. And then you have Plank One, which is a compute-centric layer one blockchain that handles all our GPU scheduling, referencing, payments for GPU. And together, these layers form both the compute backbone and the coordination layer for decentralized AI at scale.
Now, that sounds amazing, man. One thing I want to talk about is that right now, with Nvidia going from in the last 2 years, Nvidia has rose from $80 all the way up to pre-split value right around $1,400, and now it's split 10 to 1, so it's now right around $140 per share. And this was all driven by the demand for Nvidia's chips, but that also it causes a lot of innovations in AI, but it also caused a chip shortage. Now, AI chip shortage is a huge issue in the market right now. Plank has already generated over 1.5 million in revenue this year. You guys deploy $60 million worth of enterprise GPUs. Now, from your perspective, how do you think Plank is positioned to capture more of this market and also position themselves to have leverage or benefit from this chip shortage?
Yeah, very good question. Like you said, the global chip shortage is very real. So Nvidia's share price is booming. But also Nvidia simply can't produce H100s or B200s fast enough, at least not to keep up with the demand. And then even when they are developing or when they are producing these things, then most of that comes basically directly into the hands of big tech companies, funded startups like OpenAI. It's almost impossible for smaller startups to access these means, yeah. And then the big cloud computing platforms that actually offer these GPUs, they are like Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, but they offer these things actually only to the companies that are providing them as much revenue for these things. What we currently see is that many of these startups are getting stuck onto waitlist or they get simply just priced out. When you are the biggest player in the space like Amazon and you have these chips and you have big enterprises like Netflix or Spotify that require compute, then the compute goes to them first, and the people that are in queue in the waiting list will need to wait. Simply, they are just pricing out or they are putting them on a wait list. We are trying to solve this by offering a decentralized token model to new data centers that are popping up. We don't work with Amazon data centers or Google data centers. We work with private, newly coming data centers. And in that way, we have already captured over $60 million worth of enterprise-grade computing power that sits in similar quality data centers as Amazon and Google Cloud. So this includes H100s, H200s, B200s, and that global footprint allows us to actually deliver compute at scale to smaller startups and enterprises, but at a fraction of the cost. And that's why we've already generated more than $1.5 million in revenue this year from real AI and high-performance compute clients. How we try to catch more supply and demand is on the supply side, we're continuing to onboard enterprise grade GPU providers. We have a couple investors right now, like the co-founder of USDT. He has a lot of H100s and H200s in Iceland. So we give them tokenized incentives and revenue streams they simply cannot access elsewhere. On top of that, for the supply, for the people that provide these GPUs, the parties, the individuals, we give them a cloud computing platform as well. And this is very important because Amazon Web Services would not be the company if they only had the data centers. They also have a very vital part of that industry, which is a cloud computing platform where clients like Netflix and Spotify can really easily access those GPUs with already built-in solutions on these GPUs, all accessible via platforms. So we give data center providers and tokenized incentives and revenue they simply cannot access anywhere else except for in the decentralized space. And we give them a cloud computing platform where they can actually get clients, and these clients can actually access these GPUs really easily. Then lastly, on the demand side, we're trying to scale adoption through our AI cloud and AI studio. This is our cloud computing platform I was just referring to, trying to capture clients who are currently just priced out because on Amazon Web Services, an H100 server costs around $80,000 a month. With us, we are offering the same server for around $15,000 a month. So we're trying to capture clients who are currently priced out, and that are mostly the early stage startups or the early stage companies, not really the enterprises. And yeah, we're trying to capture people that are currently just left on the wait list at Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure. That's currently what we're doing.
I'm glad somebody's doing something about this because I'm a strong believer that access to compute is going to become a real issue in the coming years. And it's almost like capital in the 90s or during the dot-com boom, is that if you didn't have capital, you couldn't scale your business in the dot-com boom. So now we're looking at access to compute because this wave that we're coming, I call it second industrial revolution, is going to be driven by AI and computing. And people just don't have access to it because it's so expensive. And that's what's
Yeah.
gonna, I think in the future, it's gonna cause it to, if we don't do something about it, you got companies like yours that'll step up and allow people who maybe not have the resources of a Microsoft or Amazon to access. It's gonna cause a bigger divide in the rich and poor. The rich people
Yeah.
will have access to compute, poor people will just be in a passive position while, in access, that's very important. So
Yeah,
I'm glad you
innovation.
guys are doing something about it.
Innovation.
Exactly. So you guys have two distinct platforms. You have AI Studio and you have AI Cloud. Now, who would be the ideal user for each of these, and how are these tools how are they different? And like,
Yeah.
what types of projects would somebody use to use the cloud, and what types of projects for AI Studio?
Yeah, we have the AI cloud, the AI studio, but it's important to know that these are falling under the same cloud computing platform. So they're both based on the same platform, but there's a very big difference between the two platforms, and it has to do with the life cycle of the company. The Planck AI cloud, it's our flagship infrastructure as a service environment. It's more built for enterprises and later stage startups and companies that are already maybe have a sustainable business. It's basically for companies that like research labs, enterprises, high-end startups that require GPU clusters, bare metal servers, elastic scale, all kinds of production grade reliability enterprise features. And it's basically a decentralized alternative to Amazon Web Services, but then for AI compute. We try to offer the same reliability through the compute that we offer, but also the same enterprise grade features that they're already using on Amazon Web Services, because otherwise you cannot just try to convince them to step onto by only offering lower prices, because if they miss features that are very vital for their company to move forward, then you are already losing. That's the AI cloud. And then we have the AI studio, which is more for the early stage company that is pre-product market fit, I would say. And I will explain you why later stage companies don't really need this, because the Planck AI studio is a low code environment, lower the barriers to entry. So it enables smaller teams, even solo founders, to fine-tune AI models, to deploy AI applications, to scale AI without needing a full machine learning operations team. Right now, if you want to build an AI model, you need at least to have a couple AI engineers, you need a couple machine learning operators, and then as that you need your normal software engineers that are going to build the application. So this AI studio basically allows normal software engineers to deploy AI models and to fine tune them with their own data, to train them with their own, deploy them into an app without needing the full circus regarding AI team, machine learning team. And you can already understand that when you are an enterprise, you have the capital to really easily do all these things yourself. If you're in AI and you're a big enterprise, you're not going to use a low code environment where one person in the team is going to build an AI model. You have tremendous amounts of resources. So this AI studio is really for the early stage startups. And that's how we try to eventually move early stage companies that are using the AI studio and try to flow them and be along their life cycle and try to push them towards the AI cloud as they mature as a company. So again, in practice, enterprise R&D teams typically move towards the AI cloud for its raw power, and then startups or founders often are moving towards the AI studio first and then become also involved with the AI cloud. So it's two different platforms, but they're also fully integrated. can transition effortlessly between the infrastructure layer and the application layer if they want. So even if you use the AI cloud or the AI studio, when you move to the AI cloud, you can still use the AI studio as well. It's just, we need to be honest, big enterprise are never going to use such an AI studio. It's just, they are too mature for that.
So if I was a person who was trying to create my own AI model, I'm a software engineer and I was looking for a product, AI studio would be perfect for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sounds good, man. So I want to talk about the token. Now, everything is based around a token. I know there's a big day coming up October 28th. So could you I'm a big believer in utility. I think that's the future of crypto. I don't think that a lot of meme coins are going to last. So I want to talk about the utility of your token and also what's going to happen on this date, October 28th.
Yeah. The Planck token is very vital in our, because we have a layer 0, we have a layer 1, but we also have all our staking pools that are directly associated with the tech stacks that we have built. So the Planck is, first of all, one providing computing power on the platform. So if you are a third-party provider, then we are offering your GPUs via a cloud computing platform towards startups, eventually enterprises. And if we ensure good quality to those clients, we need to be able to punish you, the GPU provider, if your connection is all of a sudden failing. That's why we try to work with data risks, but still, we need to be able to flash your stake whenever you are providing GPUs to the platform, because we need the reassurance. First of all, that is one of the main utilities. People need to stake their GPUs in the network when they want to participate in the earnings. But a lot of normal people in the crypto space, regular crypto investors, they don't have access to H100s that are costing $25,000 per card. What we have done is we created a community engagement staking pool where these community members can still participate in the earnings of these enterprise-grade GPU models that are sitting in data centers while not having to own hardware by themselves. So what happens is, besides the GPU staking, we have liquid staking as well. So users can stake Planck tokens in our liquid staking pool to receive L Planck. So besides the rewards that they will earn from the liquid staking pool, which are based on the time they're locking them in, the amount of tokens they're locking in, they receive L Planck, which is a dynamic yield-bearing token that keeps the network capitalized, at least the GPUs and the network overall, while giving stakers still flexibility. So with their L Planck, they can restake them into co-staking pools. So that's our with our liquid staking pool and our co-staking pool. And the co-staking pools are actually pools that are set up by data centers with all kinds of enterprise grade GPUs in them. So what a user can do with them, with their L Planck, is co-stake them at enterprise grade GPU pools, and they can earn from enterprise grade GPUs without owning them themselves. So this allows anyone, even without a GPU, to share in the same high value that large enterprises pay top dollar to rent. So it effectively democratizes AI income at the highest level. So that's our staking model. We have GPU staking, liquid staking. Then besides that, most of our clients currently pay in fiat, in dollars and in euros, for the compute that they rent from our providers. And we execute continuous buybacks to convert these revenues into Planck tokens again. So we distribute rewards of those GPUs, of those earnings, back to the GPU providers, but we do that through buyback. So we use the fiat revenue that comes in, we do a buyback every day, and we distribute it back to the GPU. So yeah, this means every unit of compute consumed directly creates token demand and ties real value. So that is a very important factor of our network as well, the buyback mechanism. Besides that, over time, Planck will also unlock governance rights, access to when our layer 0 mainnet is launching, we will have validator staking. Following TGE, after TGE especially, we will launch our own DEX. So the DEX fees in our ecosystem will completely be all in Planck. We have our own bridge launching 2 months after TGE. So all the bridge fees will also be in Planck. This will be expanded as well to liquidity pools. And it's very important.
That's amazing. That's amazing stuff, man. And like I said, I'm a big believer in utility. It seems like you guys have a ton of utility. Also a lot of, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. And at TGE, the main utilities are live. I think that is very important. The utilities become our core utilities are live at TGE, which is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, it's live. Yeah, it's not anything on the horizon. It's that you guys are actually doing something. So Planck also has a lot of significant partnerships. You got Bart Pierce, I love him. Google for Startups, Microsoft. These partnerships are driving development for you guys. So I want to know, so after October 28th, I want to know how are these partnerships going to affect things, development in the future? And also, what's your roadmap after the 28th?
Yeah, so yeah, we of course have the co-founder of USDT that backed us with capital, but also compute. Besides him being a very important investor with a very crazy network that can, yeah, he has decades of experience in. His experience is very important. His network is very important. His GPU power that he's committing is very important, of course. So I think that speaks for itself. He's committing more and more GPUs to the network. He's now having all his GPUs mainly on BitTensor, and he will do a 50-50 split on network. Then we have Google and Microsoft. They are just after TG as well. We keep getting grants from them, technical mentorship, access to developer ecosystems. They really love the idea of Blank Zero. So this also a lot of credibility even after TGE because it's big names. And then what is after TGE on the road? So token on October 28th, yes. Everything on B-Chain. Because we had the conversation with Binance, so they wanted to get some more involvement from us as well in the Binance ecosystem. So we decided to launch on Binance Smart Chain. Our layer 1 is already ready, so within 1.5 to 2 months we will launch our layer 1 called Plank 1 together with our bridge called Plank Tunnel. It will connect the ecosystem to more than 30 plus networks like Ethereum, BNB, all the big ones. And then in January 2026 we're launching the testnet of the first layer 0 for AI crypto. And then in around March we will be launching the mainnet of this first layer 0 for AI and DeepIn. So we have a lot of exciting technical milestones, yeah, after TGE. Very excited.
Love the utility. I love what you guys are doing. It seems like you have a very bright future, especially somebody as young as you are. So that's amazing, man. How can people find out more about what you guys are doing and get involved before October 28th?
Yeah, everybody can visit our website at www.planknetwork.com. Our Twitter is Plank Network, just Plank Network. We will be doing a lot of announcement, of course, there. You can read a lot about us on the internet itself, on YouTube, but www.planknetwork.com, that's where it all starts.
Yeah, great, man. Make sure you guys check that out. You're going to miss out if you don't get involved before the 28th, October 28th. Again, appreciate having you. Thank you for the conversation. It was very enlightening, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, very
Thank
interesting, man.